Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Are You Relevant is sponsored and brought to you by Legacy. Legacy is a uprising and upcoming Roblox Wrestling Federation that turns even the shittiest pro wrestlers into superstars, into main eventers, into legends, into future Hall of Famers. Folks, this is the future of Roblox Wrestling. This Fed is going to be the pillar of our community for generations to come. And the reason I say that is because of this. This Fed has some incredible and experienced staff team members that has experience in taking people who have not yet established themselves or not yet built a name for themselves and building them up from the ground up. That is what makes legacy legacy. It allows for you, regardless of your background or your experience or even your skill, to come in and have fair booking, fair opportunities, and cement a legacy for yourself. And so, if you're looking for a Fed to boost your career, to start your career, or even continue your career, then Legacy is the place to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Are You Relevant Talk Show and Podcast. It's your boy TJ Shoemaker here, and on today's episode, we've got a returning guest. Well, not necessarily returning guest, but returning back to the World Wrestling community after some years of departure. As you've seen from the title and the thumbnail, ladies and gentlemen, we got Deceitful Kyrie. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Doing pretty good, man.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Kyrie, before we get started, I do want to let the people know a couple things about you. Now, of course, you were obviously, before you went on this huge um, break, you were one of the most rising and established stars in our community. And with the research that you gave me on your career, you, of course, I think you had 5 different stages of your career so far. Number one would have been the rise of your career where you were growing and gaining momentum, winning matches, and of course you joined Fusion. Number two would be the self sabotage, which was your alting and the trolling and just overall damaging your reputation. Number three is the rebrand. This is where you became the Deceitful Kyrie, became the Raw Wrestler and the superstar that many know you today. Number four is fatherhood. You became a father. You became a dad. So congratulations on that. And you took,
Man,
yes, sir.
appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so you took steps away. And then, of course, the last part would be the return, which is, what you're doing now, 2 years later. So I want to kick things off with my first question for you, brother. Um,
All right.
when your career, we're going to go over to the first stage of your career, which is the rise. We're going to build you up first. When your career was rising, and when you did join Fusion, did that feel like at that time, did that feel like you made it?
Yes. The recognition I got, the amount of friends I made, it really built me up inside. It made me feel like I was a part, you know, and I flushed that all down the toilet, man, and I still regret it to this day. But yeah,
Hey, we make a lot of mistakes that we regret, but the past does not define our future.
yes, agreed.
My next question for you, Kyrie, is what were you doing? What were you doing differently back then that had people really paying attention and focusing on you?
Well, I believe I had a match at WWE, the Astounding WWE, and I had beat somebody that was really good, and that had people really, looking at me, But yeah, it was that match, and I believe one at Imperiality, if I'm saying that right, owned by Sean Apop. I believe I beat someone there as well. I can't remember her name, but she was very good. I think it was Kaylee. I think it was Kaylee.
Mhm.
But yeah, that had people, really putting their eyes on me and stuff. But yeah,
Now let's talk about that. A couple years ago, you were at some would say, the peak of your career. You were at uh, the climax of your career, the prime of your career. And so at your peak, what did you think like your ceiling was? What did you think was your tipping point?
Oh, what you mean by tipping point? My fault,
Like
man.
you're good, you're good. Like when you were in your prime and when you were at your peak, when you were in your bag basically. Like what was that moment that you knew like you are that guy now?
Um, well, honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I had a lot of self doubt during that time as well because I remember I had lost to Brad at WWE, and that really, fucked me up a little bit. Fucked my momentum up, and then, uh, you know, it was basically times like that. So it wasn't necessarily I felt like him at any point. I just felt like I was growing and I was finally, being a part of the big leagues. But you know, that's
You you mentioned something very interesting there, which was self-doubt. Of course, in pro wrestling or any sport in general, or any game in general, people typically do have self-doubt. They typically do have the thought they're not going to succeed, they're not going to win this match, or wherever the case may be. And since you are a direct victim of self-doubt, how were you able to overcome that? And what advice would you give to those role wrestlers out there, or even Fed owners out there who potentially have self-doubt, um, whether it's their Fed becoming successful or not, or whether it's them becoming a established superstar in our community?
what I would say is know your self worth. Definitely, that's number one. Two, I would say listen to your favorite song in the background. That'll definitely keep the nerves down. You feel me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those two definitely.
And so I want to stay on the past for a minute in your career. And I want to look back at the success that you had, because although you did mention that you lost some matches. Of course, you mentioned that you lost against Brad, but there was obviously
Man, look,
some success back then, right?
yes.
And so, at that time in your career, do you think that success was sustainable, or were the cracks already forming?
The cracks was definitely forming. Cracks were definitely forming. I got a lot of attention, a lot of media outlets, a lot of media, promotions. Things were looking really good for me during that time. So it was definitely moving forward in a sense.
Mm. And so,
Yeah.
when you're at the peak of your career, when you are in the prime of your career, everything just suddenly falls down, collapses, and you end up self-sabotaging everything that you were slowly building up. I usually say this to people. It takes years to build up something, but it can take literally seconds to bring it all down. And so I want to move into this next part of your career, which was the self-sabotage. Now, you yourself, you said you altered, and at the time you were being weird. But let's talk about that for a moment.
It's very weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What were you actually doing that what that people or such as yourself would consider to be weird?
So basically, bro, oh my god. Okay, so basically, right? I was altered. Oh my god. Basically, I was altered as a female
Oh God.
and
Okay.
trolling Noah.
Uh-huh.
Basically, I don't remember anybody else, honestly.
So you
But
were
yeah,
alting as a road diva and trolling Noah.
yes.
What made you want to do something like that?
At the time, I saw it as I was joking, because I was young and childish to be honest. So I would just do stuff just to fucking do it. Like anything that I think about, I do that shit. And I'm looking back and reflecting now, and I'm thinking to myself that that was the stupidest and dumbest shit I've ever done, and the weirdest.
Mm.
You know, that's
Well,
yeah,
I can say this, when we are immature and we are in our younger stages of life, we do typically make impulsive decisions. And at the time, we think it's something that's funny. We think it's something that'll get a laugh or a reaction out of someone. And then, you know, down the line, we usually typically regret it. And so at that time, did you think, you know, that was a harmless joke?
yes, I really did. I swear to you, I swear to you. Back then, I was I was really retarded. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, sometimes we all are, brother. Sometimes we all are. And what, because everyone has a reason for doing something, right? Like you don't just do something without having a reason for it. And so when you were
Yeah.
arting and when you were dressing up and cosplaying as a female or whatever, were you doing it to just troll, or were you doing it for attention, for validation, or were you just bored? Like what was going through your mind at that time?
The impulse was just trolling. Like back then, I was a troller. So anytime I see an opportunity to troll somebody, I would do it. You know, basically, it's basically me being childish and weird at the same time, in a sense.
Hmm. Okay, okay. And so did anyone, another thing is too, people tell you before you're about to do something, hey, let's not do that because this could end up bad, or whatever the case may be. People try to warn you before you actually do something that you're going to regret in the future. But there's sometimes where people are not there to warn us, or they're not there to stop us from committing whatever action we're going to take. And so at that time, did anyone try to warn you before it blew up?
I don't think I told anybody. I don't think I told anyone.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't tell anyone that time during that time.
And so when did it hit you that doing this was actually damaging your reputation?
Oh, the moment it happened, the moment they added me to the call, it was Jody, and I believe a few others, John, Vlone, Noah himself, all in the call with me, and I screen share, and they see all of it. They see all of it. From that point, I knew it was over
Mhm.
because the way they was acting, I was like, yeah, I fucked up big time. And then there it is. There it was.
Do you think if that situation never happened, well, if that situation never happened, where do you think you'd be right now?
If I'm being honest, I would have definitely been up there as one of the greats. I would have. I firmly believe that I would have. If I would have kept on the same, if I had the blocks building up all that and it was steadily going, I would definitely be up there. I would, no doubt,
Well,
no doubt.
you did say that at the
The
beginning.
so
At the beginning, you did say that you initially regretted it, and now that you're reflecting back on it, you know that that was childish and immature of you. But do you believe that was a part of the plan? People say everything is a part of God's plan or whatever the case may be. But do you think that had that not happened, you know, you wouldn't be where you are right now? You wouldn't have an incredible wife and beautiful child.
um, I believe everything. Like I believe everything happens for a reason.
Hmm.
So I don't regret. I regret doing what I did, but I learned to accept it because life is growing. I have a son now. I have a wife. You know, I could not ask for anything more. That
Shout
is the
out to
most
her.
beautiful
Shout out to
thing,
her.
yeah, that I can ever have. So you know, I'm I'm accepted that it happened, and I moved on from it and forgave him. I forgive myself for it as well.
Hey, that's all we can pray for. We pray for acknowledging the problem and acknowledging that we were in the wrong and moving on about it. And so that's good. That's good, Kyrie. I now want to move on to your era of becoming what everyone know you as, your deceitful Kyrie era. And so when people started to recognize you as Deceitful Kyrie and started to call you Deceitful Kyrie, how did that personally make you feel?
For honestly, for a second, I really thought that I was up there again. Um, like I said, I was really inactive during that time as well because life was really kicking my ass. I'm not gonna lie, but you know, during that time, I was really inactive. So either way, I don't think I would have got up there quickly. You know,
Mm,
but I was uploaded a lot during that time as well. So yeah.
mm. Were people treating you were people treating you different? Because
Um.
with success there comes a lot of different things. There's jealousy. There's there's times where people will glorify you because of the success that you have and try to be buddy with you so that that success may rub off on them or something. So behind the scenes, were you being treated differently or what was going on?
Um. If I'm being honest, I really was kind of treated the same, to be honest. Like,
Mm,
I got cheers and stuff, like pops and stuff, but like behind the scenes, I was really talked about a lot in a lot of service. But, yeah. So yeah, basically it wasn't different, to be honest.
mm. Were you, and at this time, you're slowly and you don't know it yet, but at this time you're about to slowly enter fatherhood, which is a completely emotional turmoil and something that was going to be completely new to you at the time. And so, were you mentally checked out at this point? You got the controversy that just happened with you, alting and whatever, and now you're just now about to enter fatherhood, adulthood. So were you
Yeah.
mentally checked out? How were you mentally at that time?
To be honest, I was really happy because that's something I've been praying for. A son. So during that time, I was really happy, but during that time, it was kind of some dread because I had to put in extra hours, learn new things and new stuff that I never knew, in a fast time. So in a sense, it was scary and it was kind of, I was happy, so
At the end of the day,
yeah.
that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And speaking of this stage where we're walking away from pro wrestling and we're entering a new point, new era in your career, you mentioned that your son was the final nail in the coffin. You're like, I'm done. You know, life has just really hit me, and I finally got what I've been praying for. And so, why was that specific and exact moment? Why was that the final nail in the coffin?
Um, my whole life, I was raised that my son comes before anything. So in my mind, I'm just, I'm thinking about what was said to me growing up. And I said, okay, well, wrestling has to go. All this side quest has to go. I have to focus on my son now, So I dropped pro wrestling, dropped other things and focused on my son. So he's safe and he knows that he has a father, you know.
That's really wholesome to hear, man. That's amazing. I would love to see that. This is off topic. Are you black?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, because we have a whole stereo type where you have black daddies who have these children and that they could completely just leave them and neglect them, and it's a whole different thing where races or different races just gave us a stereotype, and it's amazing to see black excellence, and that is a prime example what black excellence is. You put your priorities first, the priorities that actually mattered, and you blocked out the distractions. You blocked out everything that wasn't the primary focus of your life at that time. And so when you became a father, right? Did that instantly
Yeah.
shift your priorities? Because again, you said your entire life you were taught that your son comes first, family comes first, as they should. And so when you first became a father, did that instantly shift your priorities?
In the beginning, I had doubt, because you know, had a lot other things going on, behind the scenes. But I came to realize that, my son has to come first. He has to come first, and I love him to death, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Was it hard to let go of the things you were used to? We as humans, we naturally have this obligation that when we're trying to focus on something new, it's so hard because we're continuously being weighed down by the distractions and the outsiders and people around us. And so, um, was it hard to let go of all that, everything that you were used to doing?
Oh, definitely yes. There's so many things I used to do that I had to give up. I had to give up partying. I had to give up smoking. Um, I mean, I still smoke a little, but that's not the point. I had to give up a lot of things that I was used to doing. Being on the game.
Yeah.
I had to shut that down a little bit too.
Mm.
But yeah, the process was definitely hard. But for my son, I'll do the world for him.
Hey man, pass. Hey brother, that's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. You're making the black people look good. That's what we like to hear.
Yes, sir.
And so, at
Yes,
the
sir, man.
time that you were departing from the pro wrestling community, of course, um, this community is essentially this community. There are some times where you're going to meet people who will become some of your best friends online, or you know your brothers online, or whatever the case may be, your friend group, whatever. And so, at the time that you were leaving the pro wrestling community, did anyone try to convince you to stay, or convince you to uh, just stay a little bit longer?
Yeah, actually, some people did. Aiden did. And I believe a few other people that was looking at me said, "Give it one last shot again." But you know, them saying that it definitely was hard to stay going. But you get it.
Yeah, yeah. Hey man, priorities come first. When you posted your retirement and posted that you were leaving the pro wrestling community, and when it got 40 likes, I mean at that time 40 likes that's pretty that's really good to get, dude. Like that's huge.
Yeah, it really is.
And so what did that mean to you when you first seen that you got 40 likes on that post?
So I made the tweet. I remember making a tweet, and I had deleted Twitter. I completely deleted it because you understand.
Hmm.
Uh, so I come back to, I believe, like about a week or two later, and I had like 45 likes on it. I was like, what the fuck? And I saw a lot of people, that was on the likes, they were the ones really talking about me, but
Hmm.
it was just crazy to see that, and everybody saying congratulations. Some, chicken, chicken is, right?
Hmm.
Hey, shout out to chicken, man. You the GOAT. But he said, he had said, "Oh my God, Kyrie's a father now. Congrats!" A lot of people congratulated me. People from where I was rising, a lot of my old friends as well. So yeah, it was amazing.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And so did that initial support, what did that make you reconsider? I mean, this is at the time, this is a overwhelming amount of support. And of course, you were younger at the time, and so when you're seeing these many likes on your posts, and you're seeing um, so many people supporting you and congratulating you, that could typically sway your mindset. And so, at any point, did that ever make you reconsider to stay, or what was happening?
Um, yes and no. My thing was I didn't want to retire with a bad reputation to my name. You know, I wanted to leave a good impression on everything that I've been on, and that's really my main drive with this. You know, to tell people that look, if you make a mistake, fix it, come back harder. You know, that's my main thing about this return. You know, it's really huge for me to come back and try again. You know, and see if I can finally do something. But yeah,
Hmm. And you mentioned something that actually was going to lead to my next question. Um, you mentioned that you didn't want to leave the community as this controversial figure, as someone with the bad reputation at the time. And so, when you left the community, did you leave satisfied, or did you feel like you had some unfinished business that you had to take care of?
a lot of unfinished business, so much. You know, I still haven't checked off most of the things on my Pro Wrestling list of titles that I wanted. You know, I made this like when I was back at Kyrie Fusion. I still remember it. You know, things not checked off. So yes, definitely a lot of unfinished business. And with this run, I will hope to achieve all of them. So
Let's talk about that for a moment. Of course, back then, when you said when you first made that list, some feds have, of course, shut down, closed, whatever, and some feds have still remain. So, on that list, what are the current goals that are achievable still? What's some things that you still want to do during this run?
let's see. The XRW Championship, the XWE title, the RWA title. Um, uh, I'm hoping to win RWA Heritage title. Is it still called Heritage?
I believe so.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, the Heritage title, and definitely the XRW Championship. Definitely.
What's the significance of winning the XRW championship?
Uh, to be on top in a company that is a different time zone for me, because XRW is GMT.
Hmm.
Um, winning the big title at the GMT Federation, that'll definitely, you know, that'll definitely be great.
Yeah, that'd be pretty huge. And I want, and I'm glad that we got to discuss this because I want to move on to the return. You're back now. You're finally back in action, and after 2 years of inactivity, 2 years, and of course getting your life together, I want to ask why now? What makes this moment the right opportunity to come back, the right opportunity to return? Of course, OPRW is ending in just a few weeks, and a lot of things have shifted. A lot of things have changed since you've been in the pro wrestling community. So why now? Why did you choose now to return?
Well, we'll go deep here, but I'm gonna go to something else. So basically, I heard that uh, there was a new generation coming. So I was like, okay, let me see what's going on. Let's see what's happening. So let's see how the newcomers are coming up. I've been to multiple feds, and honestly, I don't see no new people. It's all the same people that was there before.
Hmm.
So, oh man. But yeah, man, I'm just excited for whoever's coming up to come up. You know, because I'm definitely coming up. That's all I gotta say.
Amen to that. Why should I want to ask you now? Of course, 2 years ago you were looked at as differently. You were this controversial role wrestler. You had this bad rep. So with this comeback into 2026, returning back to these major feds and trying to earn these opportunities to get back into the main event scene to earn the spotlight back, why should the community believe that this comeback is different?
Uh, they see what I represent in the ring and outside the ring, and what was my story. You know, a lot of people say, you know, your story, it matters, but
Hmm.
at the same time it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So
Explain.
I,
What do you mean by it
so
doesn't?
so story, you know, some people are just gonna say, yo, you're all talk, bro. You're the same, you know, you don't change, you
Hmm.
know. But sometimes it's good to know the story because, you know, maybe that person did change or they're willing to give that certain person said chance, you know. So that's really my take on that. You know?
With this return, do you feel like you got something to prove? I mean,
Definitely.
you got so many accomplishments and achievements that you want to get done in this comeback and this return tour. So do you feel like you got something to prove?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do. That main thing being that, you know, even with the bad pass, you know, I still came back and I made it the best I ever could. And I can finally retire knowing that I left a good impression.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kyrie, as we get to close, I do want to ask you a few more questions.
Yeah,
Um,
no problem.
what would you say to those people who wrote you off, those people who doubted you, those people who criticized you, those people who didn't believe in you, those people who just completely, you know, said they were going to support you and did the complete opposite? What would you say to those people who just completely wrote you off?
All I gotta say is just keep watching.
Hmm.
Just keep watching.
That's a quote right there, man. Kyrie, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Everything is not funny. You know, it's not okay to do things without thinking. That'll get you in trouble. That'll get you locked up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What version of you are we getting this time around? We've
Say that
seen
one more time.
I said, what version of you are we getting this time around? Of course, we've seen you in Fusion, we've seen Deceitful Kyrie, but what mode, what version of Kyrie this time are we getting? Are you coming back for redemption? Are you coming back for revenge? Or what version of you are we getting?
Um, Version you're getting is a calm, humble, um, uprising person that came back from a bad past and is finally back to redeem it, to make it how it was supposed to be, in a sense.
Hmm. Kyrie, my last question that I have for you today is I ask every guest of this. Deceitful Kyrie,
Yes.
are you relevant?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Hmm. What makes you
Yes.
relevant?
What makes me relevant? What makes me relevant is dang, I don't really Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the fuck happened, but what I would say I'm relevant because uh, I just came back from a long hiatus. Some people are excited, are intrigued to see what's going on. So I would say I'm pretty relevant. I would say that makes me pretty relevant, right?
I think it does, yeah. Well, Kyrie, it was a absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. And again, I do want to say congratulations on your accomplishments in life and putting yourself and your family first, setting your priorities, getting your priorities straight. I also do want to thank you for being in a prime example of what the Black community needs to be doing when it comes to being a father. You got so many men out here who sticking their, into all these women having these kids and just completely neglecting and disregarding them. So, Kyrie, we thank you for being an amazing father. We thank you for coming on the Are You Relevant podcast. And it was a absolute pleasure to be able to interview you today. But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you did enjoy this episode of Are You Relevant and you want to see more, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And it's TJ Shoemaker. We will see you guys on the next one. But peace out for now.